Okay, so thank you so much for taking the time for the website review. I'm so excited to chat with you today. I've already run through your website and have a few notes for you. But the way that I like to run these calls is I like to leave a little bit of time at the end just in case any questions have popped up or anything, bubbles to the surface during our time together.
Yeah.
So I know that you mentioned that you were looking for, if anything in your site is kind of preventing more traffic or suggestions on making it more user friendly. So I, what, I
And
just want
really
to,
anything. I mean,
okay.
like I wrote that down, but I was like, li literally anything that you can be like, you know what? What is this?
For
Girl,
sure.
anything.
Well, when I was looking through the site, I'm guessing that the site is built on Wix. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the reason that I was guessing that is when we make the website a little bit smaller. So if you go to a smaller screen,
Mhm.
Wix typically has problems with scaling down the content. So if somebody were to view this on tablet or any kind of like smaller screen size, they might be having issues with viewing the site and like consuming the content. And so for that reason, I would recommend at a very, very high level that the site be redesigned on either the new version of Wix or even move to a different platform. I pretty much do never recommend Wix to clients. There's just other platforms, in my opinion. But that is like a major, major thing that I saw because, like, over half of the web at this point is consumed via mobile, tablet, and that kind of thing. And when you do look at it on your phone, like it does like load like a mobile site. And I have a few notes about that we'll walk through, but I did want to mention that because that is like a major kind of sticking point.
Yeah. Which one do you recommend? To-
So for you, since you're offering services, I don't know, it's interesting because you're doing like a combination of products and services. Um, and so I almost like I tend to recommend like show it for service-based sites, but that being said, like it's not really set up for like the shopping component. So I'm wondering if maybe that be built out like on Shopify or as like a Shopify. They have like a mini version of Shopify where you can do like an integration there. Um, so that might be an option, or even like a Squarespace might be a good option for you. I had a question too, as far as like I was kind of digging into your services a little bit because I know on the homepage there is I think there's a section where it calls out to a free call.
Yes, I think
There,
it's
here.
further up. Yeah.
Can you tell me like a little bit about like your process as far as like are people typically booking a free call first before they're booking something like a service with you?
Yeah, I'd say that happens a lot.
Okay.
Um, Often is also just a way for people that are curious about
Mhm.
like, I feel like sometimes, it's kind of like getting a bit more to know me if they haven't met me in person. So then in that call, we kind of like chat a bit about anything that they're going through. I pull like two cards just to kind of like see what's coming up.
Mhm.
Um, and then, yeah, some people do end up, kind of like booking after that certain things. Not always, but it's kind of like a way to connect and then sort of like maybe they will reach out again if they feel called or something like that.
Okay. Do you do I don't know if you have like any of the numbers on this, but would you say that more people book after a free call rather than booking directly, or is it about the same?
Mm, I think loads of people that book directly is people that already know me.
Mm.
I'd say for sure that like it's either clients that have met me in person at events
Hmm.
or at spaces where I do group sessions.
Hmm.
I think it's a bit more rare that someone that I'm like, who are you?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
then, yeah, sometimes they do, I'd say they do, not always, but they do convert. Um, is it something that you're kind of like, maybe it's not the best you're thinking,
No, no.
or?
Well, I was just trying to get a handle on like the workflow when it comes to your world and how we can like position that on the page in order to see, those more sales coming into your business. And so that was kind of one of my questions too on the homepage. Like, what is your main offer? Because I know that there are a lot of different offerings you have here, but is there any one that sticks out that is like the best seller?
Mm. I'd say I get booked a lot for either energy healing or tarot readings. I'd say
Mhm.
those are some of the ones. Sorry, my laptop just making lots of noise. Those are some of the ones that do get booked quite a lot.
Okay.
And then yeah, I think those ones might be the ones that yeah get booked a lot. But I'm thinking of yeah shifting a bit. I mean, one thing that I've been told in the past is that on the homepage there should be something directly about booking a specific service. Like yeah,
Hmm.
so like
Yeah.
something it's like not that people need to like sort of like yeah oh no you can in here you can see how to work with me, but something to like book this in directly. But I'm like
Mhm.
yeah, that's probably right.
Yeah, I was gonna suggest like so this top area before you start
Hmm.
scrolling on the page, this is essentially like your most valuable real estate. And so right now, if I just land on the page, there's no way for me to take action on your offers. And so like adding something here before you start scrolling, maybe something throwing to the energy work might be good. But throwing to that specific service and that can be an area that you switch it out pretty often, maybe monthly or every other
Hmm.
month or whatever you see fit. But really thinking about if somebody's coming here, how can you make it as easy as possible for them to take action straight away? And the less scrolling that they have to do on the page and less like clicking around to different pages, the better. So we always want to think about how can we make that purchasing flow a bit more direct. So that is one thing I was going to suggest here is just editing this area to just throw to one of your most popular services
Hmm.
and then adding a button. I might also suggest swapping this area out for like maybe a section that says like featured services. So like at the top, you could have like your main your main one that you're maybe promoting that month. And then featured services, maybe it's like columns. So it's like one, two, three across.
Hmm.
So that way you can really like at the top of the page, like get a lot of that content on how you can help. So that people can again like take that action like straight away.
Hmm.
Um, Let me go back to my notes here. And I think like also asked about the discovery process, but like I think as we scroll down the page, like getting into these testimonials, I love that you have testimonials on the page. I
Hmm.
definitely feel like these are a little bit long. So if you were to take out like the most impactful pieces of each of these, I think that you could make it a lot more impactful. So read through, pick out like the most the punchiest parts, like the pieces that will hit the emotions of the person who might be reading this
Hmm.
and pick those out. I think from a design perspective, I would also suggest removing the outline from these just because we don't see that style anywhere else on the site.
Okay.
And then anytime you have large blocks of text like this, where it is like paragraphs of text, you always want to make sure that they are left aligned. And this is just like a legibility thing for accessibility. So that is what I would suggest there.
Okay. Yeah.
Let me scroll back up really quick to the nav just because I had a few other notes here that I skipped over. Okay, so first at the top, the logo is quite large, and you can see it is taking up quite a bit of vertical space. So if we were to shrink this down, it'll allow the rest of your homepage to be pushed up a little bit more on the page. So that way you can get the offers further up. So making that logo just a little bit smaller. Um, and then perhaps also tweaking the navigation just a bit.
Mhm.
Typically, we don't need to include the home button just because the logo will link to go home. So think about when you are listing out your navigation. We read from left to right, right? So thinking about like what's the first most important thing, second most important thing, third, etc. And then I would also say on the top right of the page, that tends to be the most actionable piece. So right now you have the cart, which I think is great, but maybe just tweaking these. And this is something, and this is a question that I would ask you. Maybe we rearrange the navigation a bit to be more service focused. So maybe it's something like services with a drop down or like energy work with a drop down or those kinds of things, like kind of like zhuzhing that a little bit just so that it's kind of more in order with like that reading left to right.
Mhm.
um and then let's see here. And this is just like a very tiny thing, but I would say the capitalization in this one
Mhm.
matched to the others.
Okay.
Okay, so let me go back down to the bottom here. Okay, so maybe taking this section, this offering section, and just pushing it further up on the page like we were talking about. So maybe right below this hero section,
Mhm.
putting the offerings right here.
Okay.
And then I wanted to ask you, have you been getting a lot of traction on these blog posts?
I mean, not really, but I've been told multiple times that it's kind of like good to have sort of like blog to get more sort of like SEO
Hmm.
towards the website. So I'm kind of like, oh yeah, I should post something on it, and then I don't.
Yeah, they can be really great for SEO. There's a lot that goes into blogging for SEO.
Mm.
The reason that I was asking is that they can still exist on your site, but I
Hmm.
don't know that you necessarily need them on the homepage. So, like when I think of like the homepage, especially for what you're trying to do in business, like you're really trying to like push people to like working with you or buying the products, right? And so, really making the homepage focused on that.
Okay.
And you can still have these on the site, but I don't necessarily know that they need to be on the homepage.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense.
And they can continue to still work in the background.
Mm.
And then as we scroll down to the bottom here, we could probably remove this white area.
Oh, there's
Uh,
meant to be Instagram posts there. I'm not sure what
oh,
happened. I need to double check that. Mm.
interesting. It might sometimes those things need to sometimes like they change something on Instagram side
Mm.
and you have to like reconnect it.
Okay, I'll have a
Um
look.
it's usually like a permissions thing or like a token that needs to be updated.
Mm.
Okay, so let's go now to the services. So let's go check this out here. Okay, so my first impression of this page is like if I'm coming to this page for the first time, there's a lot of options here.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if people might be getting overwhelmed,
Hmm.
um, or if maybe there is a way to kind of help point them in the right direction. You know what I mean? Of like what they're trying to achieve based on the the outcome that they're looking for, or like the type of service. Um,
Yeah. Wix is a bit bad with like kind of like
mhm.
categorizing things. So like I've added that at the top where like you can kind of like go like where to start,
Yeah.
Oracle and things like that. But yeah, it's still kind of like the design is still I don't massively like it. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if there's a way that, and this is just me not being super familiar with Wix. I've seen the kind of like, the issues that come up with these sites, but I personally don't work on the platform. But I wonder if there is a way to kind of build out a page that is specific to, and maybe you've done that here, like specific to like all of the tarot readings, or like breaking it out a little bit more.
Mm. Yeah, I'll have to see if there's a way to do that. Yeah.
Just trying to see if there's a way to like categorize it. Either that, or maybe like, I don't know, if you go into this widget and see if there's any other options for like
Mhm.
how to display them, just to make it a bit more like, maybe it's like displaying them on the left so you can kind of click through, kind of like a fashion website. Um, I don't know if you've seen those where it has like filters on the side. It might be something there that you can play with.
Have a look.
One other idea that I had for you is, and maybe this is something you've already considered, but um, maybe some kind of quiz where somebody can discover like what service is right for them. So like what they're looking for, something like that. Might be fun to like play with. And I've only built out one quiz before, and it was on ManyChat, and it did take a while to to get set up. But I know that there are a few other platforms. Maybe there's something like within Wix too that makes it really easy to set up. I just don't know off the top of my head, but I know another platform you could look at is Interact.
Okay.
But that might be something fun to kind of play with. You could use that as a lead magnet too. Enter your email to take the quiz, and then you
Mm.
essentially like point them in the right direction for like, what would be most helpful to them.
Mm.
I also wanted to show you, maybe hopefully this will show up in the recording. So this is a Google Chrome plugin called the Detailed SEO extension. And it's really helpful. It's completely free to use, but you can grab it if you use Google Chrome. But I love to use it for SEO just because it gives you a really quick overview of each of the pages. You can literally use it on any website. So even if you go to competitor websites or other healers' websites to see what they're doing, you can kind of take a look at what they're doing for their title, their description, all of that. But you can see here that there are a few opportunities for some tweaks as far as like integrating maybe some more keywords into the title of the page. It also gives you like the best practices. I don't know if you can you see that when I hover that
Yeah,
over?
yeah.
Okay. Sometimes I don't know with Zoom like what it's picking
Yeah.
up and what it's not. But yeah, it gives you the best practice here if you hover over like the little question marks, which is really helpful. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is the header structure. So if you're going to dive into SEO, obviously there's a lot that goes into it. But one of the things is the header structure. So that's like H1, H2, H3, etc. And how this works is Google will essentially look at your page, and it will look for the H1 on the page to see like, okay, this is the most important text on the page. H2s are the second most important text, H3 are the third most important text, et cetera, et cetera. And then it will look to your paragraph text for like additional context. So if we
Mhm.
switch over to the heading tags here, you can see exactly the text on the page, which are tagged as H1s, H2s, etc. one good rule of thumb is you only want one header on every single page because if not, the H tags are going to be competing with each other and it's going to confuse search engines. So taking a swoop through all of the pages to see like, okay, what is the most important text that we can put in the H1? It's usually
Mhm.
like and we like to add the H1, H2, H3, etc. to true headers on the page. So like, really keyword rich statements. So like, energy work to help you blah 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 blah, and really including those like key terms. So that way, think about like what somebody might type into Google um, in order to find your website.
Mm. I'll be honest, I didn't even know any of that
Oh,
was I was like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm just writing something there. Okay,
for sure.
good.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a really great resource. You can use it on every page of your site, and it's a really great quick reference just so you can see like what's going on with the title description, the header tags. You can also use it for the images on your page. So the alt text on the page is essentially when you describe what's happening in the image, and it's used for accessibility purposes. So if folks that have a vision disability come to your site and they're trying to consume the page, they'll still be able to understand what is happening in the image. And so, super important to get. There's just a few here that need that alt text added. So, like for example, this one, it might say circle or oval logo that reads Sacred Wise Magic with a moon icon or something like that, where it's like very descriptive of what is happening.
Okay.
And I don't, it's not popping up here, but when I first went to the site, it did have a mailing list pop up. I don't know if we're going to be able to get it to pop up here again because I've already visited the site. Oh, there it goes. Um, so I think like for this, I don't know how much control you have over this, but it does feel like a little bit bare on the left side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any opportunity there to kind of play with the layout at all.
Mhm.
But that is definitely something that I would look at. I also might suggest tweaking the text just a little bit, just because people they ultimately care about what they're going to get when they sign up for your newsletter. So making this bigger, bold text more speaking to the benefit of joining your list. So like maybe like free magic and herbal tips when you sign up for the newsletter. Um, you know, Maybe it's a 10% discount when they first sign up, whatever you want to give them is going to be helpful there.
Okay.
And let's see. And I think overall, too, and maybe this is something you can explore when and if you go to a different platform, but I think, like, from a design perspective, making it feel like a little less boxy. I think the backgrounds like
Mhm.
of each section, maybe taking them to be full width, um, and less like boxed in, I think will really help. Um, just to make it feel like a bit, I don't know, like I feel it will make the pages look a bit cleaner.
Mm. Okay.
Let me go to some of your other pages here. Let me go to the about page. I think your imagery also is really incredible. I don't know who you did your brand photos, but they look so amazing.
Yeah.
Um, I think for this one, I would love to see like a photo of your face,
Okay.
just because this is the about page, like you know, and then maybe maybe just switching these.
Okay.
Um, yeah, people love to see, the person who is running the brand. And I think especially in the about page, just getting to that straight away.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Adding the values. I would maybe also add the testimonials to this page as well.
Okay.
And then maybe I generally try to add calls to action at the bottom of the page. So for this, I mean, it really just depends on like what your goal is. Like, is your goal to grow the email list and do you sell there? I tend to try to push to services like in the bottom, just as like a, book now or, contact me, that kind of thing. So that's generally what I suggest, but it really depends on like your business setup and like how you do most of your selling.
Mm, to be honest, I feel like that's like something that I need to structure more, a
Mm,
lot more. I feel like a lot of it is can be through social media.
mm,
Um, and then I think for events and things, often it is when I send out my newsletter, then people go like, "Oh, she's doing this event, let me book in."
mhm,
So it really depends on what I'm kind of like mentioning. Um, yeah, but yeah, I feel like you're right about adding maybe like more towards the bottom about something about service and more in that instead of like just the email and subscribing.
mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, at least like having some call to action at the bottom of the page is great. I mean, I would experiment with it too.
Yeah.
If see if you might be able to see in your analytics if this opt-in is getting a lot of people opting in. Um, but maybe just experiment too. Like just think about too from the website visitors perspective. If they have scrolled all the way down here and they get to the bottom of the page, they're probably pretty interested. Like
Yeah.
they're probably pretty like, warmed up. They've read all the content, they've read the testimonials and all of that. And so when they get to the bottom of the page, that's like the opportunity to be like, hey, do you want to work together?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a good point.
Do you have any questions as far as like, I know we kind of have covered a lot, but I do like to leave like a little bit of kind of free form question time.
Yeah, first of all, this was like so amazing. So like
Good.
thank you so much. Um, and it's left me with a couple of like a lot of things, not a couple, a lot of things that are like I'm like, yeah, I need to do this, that. Um, you mentioned about I feel like part of me is like, yeah, I want to move to a different
Mm-hmm.
to like Square,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But I just feel like it's such an overwhelming task.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I have everything through Wix, like even my email
Mm-hmm.
is through Wix, although it's Gmail. But it's
Yeah.
like because it's like the business, so it just feels like such an overwhelming task to do all of that and redesign everything. But I know that's something that potentially will have to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah. So it's not a question, but comment, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a large undertaking. But if there is any way that I can ever support you or if you have questions, like I'm always happy to help in any way. I really do think that like with your services and products, like Squarespace might be a good option. Um, Typically, I tend to recommend Shopify for product only businesses. It's not really
Mhm.
great for service stuff. But since you have the combo, Squarespace might be a good option for what you need, just because I just don't recommend Squarespace generally for like really robust stores. I'm talking like, like all the big box stores tend to
Mm.
use like a Shopify or something completely custom. So.
Right, right. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Maybe another thing to look at for the future.
Yeah.
Mm.
If there's anything that I can like help with in the future, or like any questions pop up or anything, like I'm pretty easy to get in contact with. I'm pretty
Mm.
chronically online, so
I hear that.
you
I hear
know.
that. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, yeah, I definitely want to make some adjustment. And based on like what you said and yeah, I'd be curious to see what you think then.
Cool, yeah. Yeah. That's something too where if should you ever want to like me to take a look another look at the site in the future, that's a service that I offer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, amazing.
So all right. Well, I will get this recording uploaded for you and I will
Mhm.
send it over to you so that way you can go back through it in detail. But yeah, if anything else pops up, you know where to find me.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Of
This
course.
was honestly so, so informative and just amazing because like it's always like that thing where like you see like I use my website all the time like so I know where to go, but
Yeah.
when other people see it then it's like, oh, okay, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it.
For sure. Yeah. I feel that so much. Like there's been so many times where I'm like, I'm too close to this. I need to get like another set of eyes or, you know. So I totally
Yeah.
get it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, no, thank you so much. It was so, so informative.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will get this sent over to you probably tomorrow. But yeah,
It's
I hope.
midnight over here anyway, so I'm gonna go to bed.
Okay. We'll sleep well.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of the day.
Good night.
Okay, bye bye. Thank you so much again.
Of course.
Bye bye.
Bye.